Hey everybody, welcome back. So if you watched my previous video about alcoholism, which is about half hour, 30 something minutes long, you might want to listen to this one because most people that have problems with drinking also have problems with, doctors putting them on antidepressants, especially if they're not being honest. They tell their doctor that they're not feeling well, they're depressed. Well, a lot of that comes from drinking. Is I found out the hard way. When you drink as hard as I did, and like in the previous video, I think I'll put it up here when we're done with this video, but a lot of that stuff goes misdiagnosed because you tell doctors that you're not feeling well, you're shaking, you got no desire to do things, but you're really not telling the doctor that you're drinking 15 beers a day or whatever you're drinking. I mean, that's what I was. I was a 15 flat a day drinker. So, but a lot of people won't tell the doctor that. So they'll tell the doctor, not the truth. You're not honest. The doctor does the best he can, and most of the time they prescribe you antidepressants. In my case, I was on 15 different ones that I can count. There possibly could be a few more. But I have been taking Wellbutrin XL, I believe. I started with 150, then I went to 300, then I went to 450, which is a psychiatric dose. And I've been on that for 8 years that I can recall. I think it could be more, but 8 years at that dose. I've actually done some thinking, and I kind of remembered what house we were in at that time, so I put the years together. Um, 8 years at a psychiatric dose, and every doctor that, because we've moved a lot over the past like 8 years, and every doctor I get that's a different doctor obviously says, wow, that's a high dose. And I'm like, you really? Like surprised? So then I'm like, okay, so what does that mean? And they're like, well, you probably shouldn't be taking that much, but how long have you been on it? I'll be saying, well, I've been on it for years. And they're like, okay, well, probably shouldn't change it. Nothing changes, nothing happens. And then I continue to take it. And recently, this is recent. This is not like my previous video. This is not many years. This is now. But I have tried to get off this. And if you are like me, you go to Google sometimes, you kind of research things. You're like, oh, okay, well, I'm taking this drug, especially when you first get the drug. Most people research it and find out all the side effects, what it does. You experience something right away, you go to Google. It's actually better, it's easier to talk to the computer nowadays or your phone than going to see a doctor. It's such a hassle, especially in Canada. So you find out all this stuff. Oh, okay, it causes tremors. You gain weight. Excessive sweating. Just the list goes on. Blurred vision, anxiety. It causes worse depression. Okay, in my case, I've tried to get off of it several times. Well, I will admit, the first few times I tried to get off of it, I did not taper. I just, I just sometimes you start thinking, and you're like, you know what? Like I've been taking this for this long. I'm taking on a chemical changing drug. I don't really feel that much better or anything. Maybe at the time you're super depressed and you're like, well, I'm taking these antidepressants. Well, I'm supposed to be happy. Well, that's really not the case. That's not how it works. They also don't know. I'm not going to say this for every pill, but because I'm not a doctor, I'm just giving you my experience. But they don't know the mechanism of action in almost, I would say, the vast majority of pills. They don't know. They have an idea, and then they prescribe this stuff to you, and some of them are prescribed in conjunction with other medication. For instance, if you have anxiety, you might be taking a benzo, Ativan, Valium, Klonopin, or whatever, and then they'll also give you an antidepressant. And then if you have side effects or something, you could get another one. I mean, at one point I was taking 6 different meds. This is when I would first quit drinking. And I will tell you, if you didn't watch the other video, you should watch it about the drinking because it kind of goes into this one. But if you're drinking at high levels and you stop drinking, or I would say even if you cut down, if there's such thing as that. If you stop drinking, you're going to have all kinds of weird sensations. And a lot of people will be like, oh, all of a sudden I've got anxiety now. Well, when you're drinking, you are washing away anxiety. You're washing away depression. You're washing away all kinds of things that are going on in your mind with alcohol. So when you stop, especially if you do it abruptly, and I will advise if anybody drinks the way I was drinking, which is excessive drinking, whether it's vodka, wine, beer, it's all the same, in excessive amounts to intoxication every night or most nights, you basically need to, well, first of all, you got to wean off of that. You should go to a detox center, but you're going to experience all kinds of weird sensations when you stop. And you're going to think that, something ain't normal. But what happens is you got to deal with life now. And whatever situation you're in, I was in a bad situation. I mean, if you're drinking every day to the point of intoxication and you're drunk, you're not thinking about, okay, I'm almost homeless or I'm going to be homeless. You might think about it a little bit, but you are so under the influence that you don't really realize what's happening until you stop. And when you do stop, and I've experienced this myself, and I know people, women, younger women, men of all ages that have gone through this. They stop, and you come up with all these sensations like anxiety. I never had anxiety. What the hell is anxiety? I didn't even know what that was because I was always drunk. So I might have had anxiety for whatever reason. All of a sudden I was talking to people and I felt like, what's going on here? I don't feel right. I feel all shaky. I feel dizzy. I started having panic attacks. Then the doctors gave me Ativan on top of that when I was already quit drinking. So then I got kind of addicted to Ativan. And you go down this path of pills and doctors and weird sensations, and you don't know really what it was, but you know what? It's drinking. When you put your body through that much abuse, and I mean, alcohol is basically like an Ativan. If you have a couple of beers, you kind of get the same effect from an Ativan, right? Or a Valium or any other benzodiazepine. So when you stop that, you're going to have all these weird sensations. You kind of get socially awkward without alcohol, like a social lubricant, right? You don't really feel like you can just say anything. You don't really want to approach people anymore because you're not like all giddy and all like your inhibitions are lowered and you're not really worried about, you're not self-conscious. You're just kind of like in the moment having fun, and especially when you get more and you start laughing and you just want to talk. Wow, when you're sober, recently newly sober, all that's kind of difficult. It really is. I mean, even now, many years after I've had a drink now, since 2018, uh, I kind of like don't like being that social. Like I'll talk and my neighbors and stuff, and here and there, but I don't like go out of my way to like make conversations like with people like I used to. I literally used to go to the pub by myself and just to talk to people, like just a chatterbox, until I probably got like too wasted, and then I just wouldn't make any sense, right? But so if you're going through all that stuff, you've quit drinking, now you're experiencing all these new sensations. I would advise you not to go to a doctor and get a bunch of pills. You should maybe be on. They might put you on maybe Ativan or something when you stop drinking. But I did that in a facility because stopping drinking abruptly when you're a heavy drinker can cause delirium tremors, DTs. It can cause seizures. It can even cause death in serious, in really severe cases. And you can look that all up. I've looked it up 100 times. I know, and I've been in detox center probably 4 times. And that's the first thing that they do. They tell you not to quit drinking completely, and then you go in there and then they put you on Ativan and a bunch of other meds I don't recall, but for sure one of them is Valium or Ativan. That kind of calms you down. They give you a whole bunch of vitamins and iron and like they give you electrolytes to get you basically like nurse you back to health. That's what they do. So if you're going to quit drinking, don't do it abruptly. That's my advice, because you're going to go through hell, and it's not dangerous. Like I said, people have died just cold turkey. So, and the same with meds, which I found out. So my problem is everybody's taking. I mean, so many people are on these meds, but so many people that are recovering alcoholics are on all these meds, and they don't really know why. They're taking all these meds thinking that they're maybe still depressed. But most of the time, when you come off of drinking, you are, okay, basically, you are in a state of reality for the first time. And I'll tell you, after you stop drinking, it takes about, I would say, 3 months to really start seeing the world differently. But it'll take 30 days for you to get out of the fog. So, and that's my experience, and it's actually, I would say, many other people's experience that I was around. Like, if you've ever heard this saying, wow, your eyes are so clear. Wow, look at it. That's that's really what happens. When you quit drinking, your eyes get clear. I know it sounds weird. It might not sound real, but it is. I mean, the dead giveaway of someone that's relapsed is look at their eyes. An alcoholic will have this gloss over their eyes all the time. And especially when you're drinking to high levels, it's just this permanent gloss over your eyes. But when you stop that, that goes away and you can see the person. It's very hard to explain, but if you stop drinking and look at yourself, even after 2 weeks or 3 weeks, you'll see something different. It's like there's life in you again. So when you stop drinking and you start feeling all this stuff, it's really because you're experiencing life now, reality, and you're in it, you're breathing it, and you have no alcohol in your system, you have no sedative. This is it. So it can be uncomfortable. It can be like it's just these weird sensations. But anyway, back to the pills. So I've been taking all these pills for like Wellbutrin. I find out on the internet that people have been crushing up this drug, which are little white extended release capsules. They're not they're like a solid pill. They're pretty hard. It's like a Tic Tac, but it's bigger. Um, and they dissolve and they release blah 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 throughout the day. But they've been crushing these up, putting them in pipes, and getting kind of like, I would say, kind of like a heroin high. They showed it on the internet, and it's been on a couple of news stations. Also, Global News had it on. So I'm like, I'm taking pills in that amount, 450 milligrams a day. I was taking. I am since down from that, which I'll get into, but they've been crushing up those on a spoon, heating it up, and pounding it in their arm. And I'm ingesting that. So I started thinking about it. I'm like, wow, okay, I haven't drank since 2018. Why am I taking these drugs? I don't really feel any better. I don't feel, I mean, if anything, I've been, when you're sober, you go through these natural, kind of highs and lows. But I mean, I don't really notice it's working anymore. I'm not saying I'm the saddest guy or the happiest person. I'm kind of like, where everybody is in the world right now. We're kind of like, we're all kind of nervous, to be honest, right? So then I'm like, you know what? I don't really want to take these anymore. And then I started doing proper research and remembering what treatment centers have told me in the past. You gotta taper, wean, whatever the word you want to use is, and you got to do it on a schedule. You got to stick to it, because if you don't, what happened to me will happen to you. You can't just go cold turkey on 450 milligrams of Wellbutrin like I was on, or whatever you're on. You can't. You just stop that, and you've been taking it for a considerable period. Your brain has been gotten used to this drug, just like alcohol, just like other drugs. And then it goes, where is the drug? And then you start getting all the sensations. I was getting major emotional crashes. I remember just walking around the house, started crying out of nowhere. And at that time, this is a few years ago when I attempted to cold turkey it. I didn't know what the hell was wrong with me. And then I started researching, and I'm like, oh, you're not supposed to go cold turkey. And then I guess I forgot, and I did it again. So now, this time, I'm actually on a schedule. So if you're taking 450, drop to 400. And I got a pill cutter, and I have to cut the pills up to make these cuts. And if you do it too quick, by about the third or fourth day, you will start to feel something, and you'll know you've done it too fast. You start getting all like, maybe you get all emotional, or you get like, you just having wicked mood crashes. So you got to do it really steady, really slow, for months and months. It's going to take me months, like probably 6 months, to get off of this. And at the very end, I'm going to probably have to start cutting the tiniest pill into quarters, like, because my body is very sensitive to drugs. So it's going to be a long battle, and but that's a problem with people that have drinking problems. They get on all these drugs, and like I said, I've been on some serious drugs. At one time, I was taking antipsychotics, I was taking Cymbalta, I was taking Zoloft, I was taking Trintellix or something, I think that's what it's called, and I was taking Ativan. I ended up going to the psych ward, thinking I was losing my mind, and I was sober. And my partner at the time, current partner, had to deal with that. I was an absolute mess. I couldn't work, and I was sober. It was from the drugs. I remember one time I was shaking. I was shaking like this, and I was reading the side effects saying, "Oh, you need to stick with it for 8 weeks. So this is normal." Basically, it was saying the side effects are normal. They're going to subside, and the drug's going to start working. I tried to go for a walk because I couldn't leave my apartment. I tried to go for a walk. I made it around the building through the alley, and I had to come home because my knees were shaking. It was just horrible. So if you're going through all that, this is normal. This is the gauntlet of medication that people go through that are in recovery, whether it's from hard drugs, drinking. Um, I don't know if it's the fentanyl thing. I don't know anything about that, but I know about coke and heroin and alcohol, but primarily alcohol, so everyone knows. So my I would say not my expertise, but my experience, which I've had a lot of. Uh, they just put us on drugs. They make it worse. And I'm not saying people don't need to be on the drugs, but I would say that if it's not working for you, I would say that, and you had a drinking problem, sometimes the best advice that I was given was like, you need to have your own mind back. So that's not with alcohol, it's not with any prescriptions. Your human mind that you were given to see if you can work through the problems on your own. If you can't, but you've given it a shot, I've never given it a shot because I've been on pills since I quit drinking. I've never really had my own mind. I've had no alcohol, but I've had a combination of. I mean, these are powerful drugs, especially at the doses I was taking. I mean, this is not like taking 5 milligrams or something. I'm 450, 300. I mean, that's a lot. And these things, they affect dopamine and your neurotransmitters, and so it's kind of scary. So I'm going to give it a. I'm currently doing this. So this is going to be an ongoing discussion, but I'm telling you because I've known this. I have known this all along, but I've been afraid to stop taking them because every time I've tried, basically cancel my month because I didn't really know how to do it, and no doctor. Some doctors have told me, "Oh, you can just stop taking it. It's not a big deal. Those aren't addictive." Have you heard that one before? Like, this is not true. You cannot stop taking just because it's not, uh, you know, a Percocet or something, Oxycontin or all these other addictive drugs. It does not mean that you can just stop taking them because they're not addictive. Everybody's body gets used to something. I mean, even people that quit coffee, if they just go cold turkey, they get migraines. I mean, that's the thing. You got to do it slowly, right? So anyway, I just wanted to do a video on that because this really is important for people that are stopping drinking and then they go through this medication thing because the doctors will be well, be real quick to be like, you know what? Yeah, let's get you on some antidepressants. And oh, you're feeling anxiety. Well, a lot of doctors don't give out Ativan anymore, or sleeping pills for that matter, but they might if you tell them that you just stopped drinking. Then you could get into another situation, and you're already coming off alcohol. Now you're getting all these drugs, and you're not yourself. So if you need them, you need them, right? But I think the best approach for people that have had a really bad drinking problem, like I did, excessive drinking problem, you need to get out of that, and then you got to find yourself. I'm not saying when you first get out. I mean, people are going to do what they're going to do, but for me, finding your own mind, um, and doing things without all these altered, chemically altering drugs, and is the best way. Because I'll tell you, this is where I'm getting to. I'm at half the dose now. I've been thinking about doing these videos for 5 years because I've got a lot of experience in a lot of different things. Like I'm a hands-on guy. Like I've done a lot of renovations. I've gone through a lot of medications. I've done this alcoholic life I had, and I've come out of that now, and I'm in a place where I never thought I would be. And I've never really told anybody about it. I don't have tons of friends anymore. You know how that goes when you stop drinking, you lose a lot of that, right? And I've been wanting to do these videos, and I've never done it. Well, it's funny that like 6 weeks or maybe eight, I think it's 8 weeks now into this taper. Could be a bit longer than that. Let me check that. But all of a sudden I'm making videos now. Isn't that weird? So I was on 450 Wellbutrin. Now I'm 225. I'm making videos with you. I got the microphone. I got these sounds. Right? What's going on here? So, and I've really, like, I've told people I should do a video, and they're like, you should. You've got so much. I've talked to people that I was in treatment with to this day. My good buddy Todd. He's like, you should make videos. You should do this. Oh, in one ear, out the other. I don't want to do that. I can't do that. I can't get in front of the camera. People are gonna judge me. I don't give a shit. I don't care. People can judge and all you want on internet. People are just like, oh, that guy's stupid. Oh, he doesn't know what he's doing. Who cares, right? But I was not thinking this 8 weeks ago. So what does that tell you? That tells me that those drugs I was on for 8 years have been hindering me. They've been stopping me from, and I've done a lot of stuff, good stuff. But imagine if I wasn't taking them. So anyway, this is a story that is going to continue because I'm nowhere near the end. But I'm just giving you my perspective, my sober perspective of what's happened. Speaking of that, I'm going to have my 0.5. Oh, these ones are really good. They're it's a light, non-alcoholic beer. But so that is my story today. Mental health and dealing with prescription drugs for people that have had excessive drinking problems. I'll probably do another episode on this one. I think this one should be talked about. I think that people that are thinking about stopping drinking or we all need to be talking here, because coming off alcohol and then getting on prescription drugs and you know what, I know this is the case because I was in, let's call it 3 treatment centers, because I was in 2, one government one, another another one in Kelowna. I can't remember the name, but it was funded by the community. But anyway, it was a pretty big one. So I was around a lot of people. And then at the end of that, I was in a recovery house for, I don't know, 6 months, full of men. And I was going to all these counseling groups, big groups of women, men, grandmas, grandpas. And I heard this all the time about the drugs, about prescription drugs that people were on after they got sober. So I know it's real. I don't really recall, hearing too much about this on YouTube, but I mean, I haven't really searched for it either, so I can't be totally honest with that. But anyway, that's enough for today. Um, I hope you find this video interesting and helpful. I will continue to make videos about all of these subjects, and subscribe, leave me a comment, and I'll see you in the next video.